What's your name and where you from?
My name is Josephine and I'm from London, but I live in Bristol.
So where were you born and raised mainly?
Okay, tricky question. So I was born in London and I moved around a lot as a child. So I was kind of raised all over the place. I was raised a little bit in London and then my mother moved us around the country. We landed in Hastings for a bit. We were in and out of women's refuges and then we kind of landed in Hertfordshire. So that's where I grew up in my teenage years.
Yeah.
And then I've come to uni in Bristol. So now I've been there for like the last decade. So yeah, I've traveled a little bit.
Talk to me a little bit more about why you had to move around so much.
So my mum struggled with addiction a lot. She had a tough life herself. So that meant me and my siblings didn't have the stability or care that we really needed. And that meant that she just kind of up and left every now and then. So unfortunately, that also meant that I was estranged from most of my family, like my African side of my family. And because she was unstable, it meant that she needed support. So then that's when we ended up in places like women's refuges, which were across the country, I guess.
What was that like for you seeing your mum go through that?
Do you know what? It's hard to answer because at the time I was so young, I don't think I realised what was going on. Like, as I reflect now, I understand it a lot more. And as I think about it now, it feels different. But at the time, it was just that's how it was. And that's just how she was. But I guess some really hard moments were like, so we went to school in Bishop Stortford. Like that's most of those years that I remember the most. She would kind of take drugs with people that I kind of ended up knowing later on in life. And that became really, really uncomfortable, being known and related to that when I wasn't able to kind of like form my own identity. I was kind of known as her daughter. So that was difficult. But yeah, it's not something I really think about because we've been estranged for like, I don't know, nearly 20 years. So yeah.
When do you think you realized that whole situation wasn't a good thing?
I think I was aware at quite a young age. I kind of grew up really, really young. So she essentially abandoned us around the age of 9, when I was around the age of 9. And that meant I have to look after me and my little sister, like still going to school and stuff for a little while with support from like my best friend's mum who lived around the corner. But it was kind of the years leading up to her departure that it really became apparent that we were kind of, I don't know, navigating a really, really toxic environment. And then obviously, you know, you go to school and you're like, okay, you look at your peers and you're like, okay, it's not normal. When I go home, it's not normal what I'm experiencing. So I think when I reflected to my peers, that became apparent. Yeah.
I mean, how does one raise their siblings at 9 years old? What does that look like for you?
Sure. Yeah, I know. When I kind of think about it, it's kind of crazy. I don't, honestly, like, it's survival. Like, we really do just survive. When we're put in situations, we just survive. And still to this day, when I reflect on it, I'm like, wow, like, that's definitely shaped me for the better and the worse, I guess. But I think one of the parts of surviving and kind of looking after myself and my younger sister at that age was masking. And that's something I developed at a really, really young age. I was able to kind of put on straight face, go to school for so long. And it was like, I think it was my last year of when you finish school and you do all of the like writing on t-shirts or whatever. One of my peers, who we weren't very close, I said in passing foster mum, because I was fostered at the age of 13. And he was like, foster mum? And I was like, yeah, did you not know? And he was like, no, like, Josie, what the hell? And I was like, oh my, I really, really, really have just, I guess, masked this whole time. So only like my really, really close friends knew. And that masking is something that I'm kind of now realizing it's done me great justice and it's got me to a place. But now I'm trying to like unlearn that and like really be my authentic person rather than always putting on straight face. My foster mum actually lived like, no joke, like a 15-minute walk from where where we originally lived. And I think that kind of fed into the ability to be able to mask so well, because you hear a lot of stories about like unfortunate circumstances where siblings get split up and you move out of complete cities or spaces, where we weren't. We kind of, nothing really changed. We just were with another person who obviously did us a lot of good and, you know, gave us a lot of structure. But yeah, when you're 13 and you've got this stability that you've kind of needed from the start, it was a real strange transition, because I'm an adult now, I know what I'm doing. It's like, well, I shouldn't be an adult, but I am. So it was quite jarring initially, to kind of then become a child again, or then become a teenager again.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you mention that you haven't been in contact with your mum for 20 plus years?
Yeah, so I've been estranged from her for quite a long time.
How does that make you feel?
That one is tricky, I'm not gonna lie. That one stings, because initially I decided not to be in contact for my own development and to get out of the space environment that I was in. And again, like I said earlier, it served me well, but actually not having contact with your birth mum, who, you know, you went through so much with and you witnessed so much with, it's really, really hard. And it's something that affects me every single day. But I guess I've got to think about what I need and what's good for me. And sometimes I really feel like I need her, but then I realize what that comes with. So yeah, it's very, very mixed feelings. It's a very bittersweet thing.
You sometimes think about how she is and what
Yeah,
she may
I
be
do.
doing
I
at the
think
moment.
about her all the time. But again, very unique situation. I am connected to some siblings who are connected to her still. So I kind of like get updates. So I check in with them to see if she's okay. So I know around about where she is and what she's doing. So maybe that makes things a bit easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, very strange situation.
Has she tried to get in contact with you through your siblings then?
So she used to, like when I started university, I remember once she sent me a letter and I just rejected it. I was like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. Felt really intrusive. Sometimes she passes on messages through my siblings, but that's about as far as it goes. Like, I'm learning my boundaries, but with my mum, I think my boundaries are quite strong and everyone really respects that.
Yeah. Do you feel like the damage is done and there's just no hope of you guys ever having a relationship?
I feel like a lot of damage has been done, and that question comes with a lot of complexities, because I've mulled over it so many times. What would that relationship look like? Where does that take me? What does it mean for me? And like selfishly, I don't think I can handle it yet. And to be really real with you, it's been something that I've been trying to get clarity on for maybe the last 5 years. Like, I've got this really strong pull. I need to speak to her. I worry that she will pass, and then that, what? But then there's another thing, it's like, I'm scared. Like, what does that mean? What does that come with? Do I end up being another caregiver to her when I've finally like released the shackles of supporting a lot of my family? So still something I'm trying to figure out. I don't think the damage is done in the sense that I hate her or anything like that. Like, as I've said, as I've gotten older and my awareness has grown, I understand why she did what she did. She's never told me. Maybe she never will be able to, but I have a very big awareness and a big understanding of the circumstances she was in herself. But that doesn't take away from, you know, the situation that we were put in.
Yeah. What is it that you feel when you think back to those moments and what you went through with your mum? Because it sounds like there's a lot of sadness, maybe anger, maybe even a feeling of like you've just missed out on a lot because of that whole situation as well.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I definitely feel like having experienced that, like I've definitely tried and have a really positive outlook on life. Like, I've grown a lot and I've done really, really well to come out of this situation. But yeah, there's definitely a sense of like, I don't know, I look around and sometimes I'm like, God, people don't understand me. I kind of maybe sometimes feel like I other myself, because I'm like, there's even like, for example, you go to work and everyone's chatting about, oh, we did this when we were younger, and I'm just like, okay, dead, I can't enter this conversation. And if I do, then I'm going to come in with this deep trauma that everyone's going to be like. So it does still affect me day to day. And I think the main part of it is like my sense of belonging. When you don't have parents to not only look up to, but just to like, I don't know, exist around you for such a long time, I think you lose your sense of belonging. Like, who am I? What am I doing? Where did I come from? So that's been tough, and that's something I'm still trying to navigate. But I will say one of the biggest healing parts of that has been my reconnection to my culture and my Ghanaian heritage. So 2019, I decided to go take a solo trip to Ghana, and I've literally been back every year since. And that's every time I step on the home soil, that's the first time I'm like, oh my God, this is like, I understand who I am a bit more without the kind of gaze of all the nasty trauma stuff that I went through, even though there's a lot that exists in that realm as well. So that has been really healing. And like my name, for example, my full name is Josephine Abena Jesse. I'm named after my grandma, and that kind of direct connection is such a blessing and has really done a lot for my sense of belonging that I didn't realize that I had lost.
Yeah. Being able to kind of reconnect with your roots, what would you say you discovered about yourself that you now love?
That's a great question. I've discovered that I'm very Ghanaian. Like, I'm a Ghana girl. And I guess, yeah, I really resonate with the way of life, the kind of, you know, when you go to Ghana and you see the hardships that they face every single day, but they are all smiling, they're all dancing, they're all so welcoming and so happy. I really resonate with that. So I think I've learned that, you know, like I said about that sense of belonging, that I really connect with that. But maybe I've learned that, like, I think I've always tried to prove myself in my lifetime, like getting out of the situation, trying to get a good education, get a good job, be like, a creative person and express myself. I've really worked myself down, worked myself to the bone, overworked myself. And I think when I'm in Ghana, I realize that actually I'm just a human being and I don't need to prove myself to anyone or anything. And it kind of allows me to have a perspective on life where you just slow down and like, it's okay just to get up in the morning and make your food, wash your clothes, and then just sit outside and enjoy your life. You don't have to do things for the purpose of doing things. So that has been a huge thing that, you know, reconnecting with my heritage has taught me.
Yeah. How do you think you got to the point where you just seem a bit more hopeful with life again after everything you've been through?
I think it's a combination of things. I don't think it came easy. Like when I was really young, I got into a lot of trouble, maybe abused my body a little bit. I don't know, sometimes I joke and I'm like, am I really from this family? Because, you know, maybe my siblings haven't had it as easy. But I think what's given me hope is like, you know, throughout education and finding my kind of creative expression, I've been able to release, and that has slowly kind of started to heal me and allowed me to kind of look away from the past and be hopeful for the future, be inspired by things, be inspired by myself, realize that I have talents and I have passions. I care about things, I care about people. You know, a lot of the time when really bad things happen to people, you know, it's easier for them to just follow the same path and follow the same route. So I have definitely like broken cycles without even meaning to. But I think maybe it's a bit of nature and nurture, because there must be something within me that is special to be able to kind of decide that I'm going to go this way. But along with that, I have definitely had some good role models, like teachers that have listened to me, you know, figures at work. Like there's definitely key moments when I'm like, oh wow, that was a big moment for me. And actually recognizing that and not ignoring that, because I think these things happen to everyone, but maybe not everyone listens to that. And actually is able to use that for good.
Josephine, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank
really
you.
appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you for sharing.